Hello and welcome to today's video. If this is your first time here, my name is Millie and today we're going to be talking about the Melt Cosmetics 420 palette, and I'm going to be creating 4 looks and then giving you my thoughts at the end of the video. So let me just talk about the palette a little bit before I get into the 4 looks. This is what the packaging looks like. It's like that cool, there's a word for it and everybody's been finding it and I just forgot it, but it's really cool and changing it. It makes a sound basically. The only unfortunate thing, which I think they shouldn't have put it on here because people are having trouble with it not bending backwards and it's actually breaking the packaging, which I personally don't do that with most of my palettes. Only some palettes I do that with if they're really big, but with this palette I don't mind just leaving it like this. I don't really try to bend it backwards too much, but yeah, I think that would have been partially solved with this. But the packaging is really nice. I did not buy it for the theme because I personally do not care about 420 whatsoever. I just really liked the color story. And actually when I first saw the photos for the launch of this palette, I was not really excited at all because I felt like they looked just like the same tones that are in the Gemini palette and the Smoke Sessions palette, and a little bit of the Impulsive palette as well. There's a little bit of that grungy, and it's just like, we get it, you guys like grungy tones. And so I was really irritated, but then I saw swatches and I saw comparisons, and I just really love the earthy tones. I think this palette's going to be great for fall and winter for me. I can't wait to be using it, probably mostly at that time, even though I can wear them now for sure. Some of the brighter colors in here fits a little bit more in fall, but I really am such a sucker for earthy tones and kind of grungy tones, especially for fall and winter. So I thought I would pick it up, and it's just, this is the inside of it. It's just absolutely beautiful colors. There is only one metallic shade, which is Shatter, which I think totally could have been another matte or something else. I personally prefer mostly matte palettes, so this is perfect for me because I can pair it with any kind of shimmer that I want. So without any further blabbering, let's get into the 4 looks. First, I'm going in with wax in the crease, and definitely had to pack this on a little bit. Felt pretty dry and chalky, but I was able to build it up. And then on the outer crease, I'm going in with Chronic. So slowly packing it on, and then I'm gonna blend out the edges. And on the lid, I'm going in with Shotgun. Also feels pretty dry, but it did pack on pretty well. And I'm just gonna go back in with Chronic and really make sure that Shotgun is blended in on the lid. And the lower lash line, I'm connecting with Chronic. And I'm using the Crossed Creme Gel Liner from ColourPop in my waterline. And then for the inner corner, I'm packing on Shatter. And this is the first finished look. For the second look, I'm first putting Hash in the crease, and definitely just packing it on a little bit and blending it out. And this is going to be a halo eye, so I'm putting Roll It on the outer edges and just really packing it on to the mobile lid and then blending upwards. I don't want to bring these up too high. And I'm leaving the center portion of my lid blank, and then I'm going in with Full Melt, and I'm just putting it on the edges of Roll It. And then in the center, I'm going in with Wax, which definitely you can see how powdery and dry it looks. And then lastly, I'm just finishing up with some blending just to make sure everything is blended. And to finish the lower lash line, I'm going in with Roll It and keeping it pretty tight to my waterline. And then I'm putting Wax right in the center. So for this third look, I'm starting out with Dank in the crease, and this one did apply just a little patchy, but honestly this happens a lot with a somewhat tacky base and super pigmented shadows, so it's just really about blending. And this I want to be a full cut crease, so I'm cutting it with the P. Louise base in shade 0. And I just tapped that out a little bit, but I didn't set it, and I'm going in with a Shatter. Now this shade is super tricky and I did not have the greatest experience with it. However, I feel like I rubbed my brush in it enough and I took off some weird top layer that I was able to apply this shade with the brush pretty decently, but definitely not my favorite formula. Next, I'm going in with full melt, and I'm just gonna create like a little wing on the corner there. And then just trying to blend it in with shatter. And I'm gonna connect that wing to my lower lash line. And then I'm also blending wax with a really small pencil brush under my lower lash line. And this is the third finished look. For this last look, I'm going in with Chronic and a rougher pencil brush, and I'm gonna basically create like a gradient eyeshadow wing. So I'm kind of just mapping that out, and I'm going in with Faded to layer on top of that. And then lastly, going in with Shotgun. This took a little bit of building and blending, but that's usually the nature of this kind of look. I really wanted to make sure that it was a soft gradient. So just going back and forth and layering Chronic, Faded, and Shotgun. And then I'm also going to put just a little bit of Roll It, the closest to my lash line, create a little bit more depth there. And I'm going to clean up the wing with a little bit of makeup remover on a Q-tip, and then connect the lower lash line with Chronic and a little bit of Roll It. And then just adding Faded and Shotgun so that it also gradiates like the top of the wing. And I'm lining my waterline with the 420 liner from Melt Cosmetics. And for the inner corner highlight, I'm going in with Divina Gumballs. And this is the last finished look. So for all 4 looks, I used the ABH primer, and I think that this palette worked really great with that primer. I haven't tried it with anything else, but when I finished the first look, I thought that this palette works really great on that primer, so why change it up if it works on it? It's all Melt Cosmetics eyeshadows. These are super pigmented and definitely require a lighter hand. And I didn't have any patchy issues. I think that these packed on and blended out beautifully. I really enjoyed all the different tones and playing around with them. I do think though that there's going to be pretty much the same kinds of looks that you're going to be able to create with this palette. Obviously, the color story is pretty clear as to like these are going to be grungy looks. And I also wanted to mention that Shotgun and Wax are pretty like dry and a little bit on the thinner formula, but I think that's the nature of the shades because I have other colors that are like this that have the same kind of drier-ish, almost chalky formula, but they applied super pigmented and they blended out fine, so I'm not really too concerned. I do want to say Shatter is not a great shimmer. I don't know what Melt Cosmetics is doing with their shimmer formula or whatever, if they're experimenting, but their shimmers have been subpar to say the least. And this is no exclusion. It pretty much hard pans right away. When you try to swatch it, you actually can barely even pick it up with a finger. So what I ended up doing is I did use it all over the lid, and it actually ended up working out pretty well. And I think that's partially because the base was just a little bit tacky, but also I went in with a natural flat brush and I like kind of like really rubbed it in there, and I feel like I took off some kind of like a weird top layer or something. And so I think it would be helpful to use some kind of a tacky base or glitter primer or something when you want to use it, just to really help it. Unfortunately, it is kind of like a little bit of a dud, and it is gold, which I don't love. And I still stand by what I said in the beginning, which is I think this should have been a different shade or something, just not this shimmery gold. So I was actually going into using this palette with having some impressions from other videos of people using it that they were having trouble, so I was really afraid of using it and hating it, but I'm really pleasantly surprised. Like I said, the mattes worked out really great for me. It's just the shimmer is a little bit trickier, but overall I really enjoy it. I don't really think that it's a different Melt Cosmetics formula. Like, I don't think that all these palettes are having different formulas. My experience with the mattes in this palette weren't really any different than my experience with the Vida and the Morte palette. So I can't wait to use this palette in the fall and winter, and I will also try to dip into it a little bit in the summer too with some of the brighter shades. So let me know in the comments below if you've tried this palette or you plan on picking it up. I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I will put up some videos up on the screen in case you want to hang out a little bit longer. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.